Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Forensic Focus. I am your host, Charles Amodio with FAZ Forensics. At FAZ Forensics, we specialize in business valuation and forensic accounting. At FAZ Forensics, when answers matter, FAZ delivers. Today, here my colleague, Christian Leva. Christian, how you doing today?
Doing well, Charlie. It's getting nice out, so it's a little delayed from when we usually get nice weather up here. But turning the corner into June, looks like we're smooth sailing for summer. So excited
It's
to see the season change up here finally.
it's about time, right? Kind of a cold start to the weekend, but starting to warm up, which is nice.
Yeah, we just got past Memorial Day. I think always usually try to get out on Saratoga Lake for the Memorial Day weekend, and I actually was able to this year. But in the evening, just a little boat ride to see the sunset. But you like to get out for the full day or full weekend if you can, but
Yeah.
you take what you can get.
It was so much warmer last Memorial Day. I remember being up in Lake George for that Saturday and being at a parade, and it was hot, which was nice. It was like 80 degrees. I think it was like low 50s on Saturday, which was
It was
crazy.
tough. It's
Yeah,
all the rain we've been getting. I think,
yeah.
I don't know, I forget the source, but I think I saw something 27 straight weekends. We have had rain at least one of the days. So that puts us back to what, middle of November. We've had precipitation every weekend. So it's incredible. I don't think
I
I've ever
saw I saw the newscast the other day. 20 of the 25 days in May, we've had
Wow.
some form of precipitation. So crazy, crazy. So let's talk about what kind of cases you working on right now.
Been working a lot in our insurance department. So working a lot with you actually on some business interruption, loss of use claims. And I've always had some no fault work in my workload. So been focusing on that and since the beginning of the year. I like it. In years past, I hadn't worked too much in the business interruption and loss of use claims. But recently I've started picking up in that and just another field that we have here and been getting a lot more experience and I like it. It's similar to no fault, but a little, I wouldn't say higher level, but just a step up with, you're more working with businesses or, like equipment loss rather than an individual, a self-employed individual. So um,
Okay.
good.
So what give me an example of a business interruption case that you've worked on and maybe completed?
So recently we had, it was a gas station and convenience store. Um, Telephone pole dropped right through the canopy above the pumps, and obviously they were out of business for a few days there. This one was unique in the sense that it was only about a 3-day period. So typically we use tax returns, which is an annual basis, monthly profit and loss statements. It's tougher to evaluate these claims when it's such a short period using those documents because you really can't hone in on that specific 3-4 day period. So this one was those daily sales reports you print out on the register every day and like the receipt. So we went through each day, took a look at the gas sales versus the gas sales prior to the accident, and then we have to adjust for cost of goods sold. I think we've probably discussed that in a few episodes, maybe not with me, but some of the discontinued expenses, how that affects ultimately what the business's loss is. So the shorter periods are interesting. It's a little more deep dive into each day. But we got the documentation from the client, very great guy to work with. Those are always great clients to work with when, they ask good questions. Why do you need this? But, they're open and get you the stuff that you need. And, it was a very smooth claim start to finish.
So what are some of the challenges that you deal with on business interruption claims or you've dealt with?
I think the biggest challenge is maybe not the biggest, but the first one I think you encounter a lot of the time is once you send that initial request for information or even the initial business interview, where we, call the insured and get a little detail to fine tune that request for information that we will be sending them. I think it's difficult up front just because this is new. Like we kind of come onto the scene and they're wondering, who's this FAZ Forensics? Why are they asking me for this? And that initial 15 to 30-minute conversation to get on the same page and, get that understanding the best I can to help them understand, why am I asking for this? I'm not here to make your life more difficult. And, a lot of these claims, they've had some interruption of the business, and that's tough for the business and business owner. So just getting on the same page and kind of getting that understanding that, I'm here to help you with this claim. We want to substantiate this. We want to, get our report over to the insurance company, and so you can get on with your business operations, and you can, put that, unfortunate event that occurred in the past behind you and, move along. So it's gaining that trust. We want to get to that point where, us and the insured are on the same page. We answer the questions the best we can that they have. And then as we're going along and they are sending documents, and we always have follow-up questions, or,
Right.
We saw this on this profit and loss. Now, can you get us a little more support for this? Just keeping them in the loop and explaining why we're asking for what we're asking for, I think is a big hurdle to get over. But once you do, it's very smooth from there, I think.
So what typically, what kind of documents do you ask for when you get a claim?
I think pretty standard for not just the business interruption and loss of use claims, but even the no fault insurance work, tax returns. That's really the main financial document that we like to start and base the analysis on. Going off of that, we get more fine tuned. So then the monthly profit and loss statements, specific for a business interruption claim, if they have any lease agreements, trying to understand, what is the business, what does the business own, and what does the business, not own, what's going on with the business. But the tax returns and the profit and loss statements are really the main financials. Sometimes we ask for bank statements in replace of profit and loss, or to further support what we're looking at. But a lot of financial documents. And then in the case of that, gas station, we decided the best way to evaluate the claim is with those daily sales reports. So it's a lot of financial information the business has, tax returns, bank statements, a lot of whatever the QuickBooks input is for the most part.
What do you like about the business interruption cases?
I like corresponding with the insured or the client. Each case is different, and each case brings its own challenges. But even the more difficult claims that we handle, I think I still enjoy corresponding with those individuals, because it's good practice, dealing with an individual that may be a little more difficult to get information from, or that isn't as forthcoming. And I mean, whether it's our insurance work, forensic, or valuation that we, provide here, you're always going to run into more difficult claims. Not everybody's going to give you what you're requesting right off the bat. So I enjoy that challenge of, how do I get through to this specific person? There's no, here's how you discuss what we need with every claim. You could do it the same way for everybody, and you are not going to get the same response from everyone. So it's that, kind of thinking on your feet too, when you have that interview, getting a feel for, what's their sentiment right now? Do they seem interested in the conversation? Is it better to call back maybe the next day? Maybe I don't touch on this just yet and get specific. Maybe let's get some information so I can get a better understanding, and then we'll go from there. So it's fun. I mean, it's a challenge for every claim, but it's good work for, me and everyone else that works on these claims to find a good way that works for us to get through to all of our clients. And that way is not going to be the same for everybody. So it's good work on that.
Okay. And what are you reading right now?
What am I reading? I think my first podcast, I had mentioned some books that I was getting around to, but to be honest, haven't. But the Wall Street Journal is something I like to keep up to date with. Obviously, this was a big election year, and there's a lot of things changing, and the world's a crazy place. There's a lot that's going on. So I try to keep in touch, keep my finger on the pulse with what's going on in the world. But more specifically, I like to take a look at like the stock market, see just kind of how businesses and all industries are performing across the world. And I just find it interesting. I think it's good to have that kind of broad knowledge of the market, um, leading into some of the stuff that we work on, because you get a little bit of a feel for what each industry is kind of experiencing at a certain point in time. I just think it's good for anybody to have an understanding of that. You don't have to be an expert, but getting that Wall Street Journal subscription and reading 2 or 3 articles a day it's been good for me in the long run. I'm glad that I do it.
What do you like to do outside of work?
Season dependent, man.
What have you been doing outside of work?
Yeah, it's definitely seasonal for me. So right now we started up or joined a softball league. Not FAZ, but a few of um, my colleagues from FAZ and I have joined a softball league, and I always look forward to that. It's just a good once a week, get outside. It's so laid back. It's not an intense league by any means. It's very recreational. So I always look forward to that once a week during the week, after work. I like to golf. I'm not the best golfer, but always enjoy getting out there and having fun. I won't shoot low, but it doesn't matter. I'll be back next weekend. And
There
then
you
yeah,
go.
just getting outside. I think after college, I was one of the COVID classes that we were online for a lot, and threw off your routine of getting outside and just having a non not being inside all the time. And I think that's something I focused on a lot last year, is just go for a walk, right? We have such a good office here and right next to Congress Park. So try to get out and get some steps in during the day, but adding that to the after work. We live right near the state park. So I like to go over there a few times a week and do that little 3 mile loop we have. And it's been good just getting outside at this time of the year.
So what is something that everyone should know about you?
Uh, I think an interesting fact about me is that I listen to majority of Yankees games. I don't really consume the game on TV. I think I get a little riled up when the umpire misses a strike call, when someone doesn't swing at a strike. I like listening. It's much calmer. John Sterling was um, someone I like. I love him. He was awesome. I listened to the Yanks growing up, and obviously he retired last year, but I won't get off of the radio. He kind of got me hooked on the radio, and I just enjoy listening to that. I don't know how many people my age would even listen to radios in general. So I think that's a cool fact about me.
Growing up listening to John Sterling, I mean, I still, obviously always anytime I was in the car, I would listen to him. So I always made it a point to it always felt like it was amazing. It always felt like spring when I heard John Sterling on the radio, right?
It's funny you say
Um,
that. I mean, when I hear his voice, it brings me back to my front yard as 7-year-old kid, and
yeah,
our next door neighbor would always have they had this monster boom box and always had the Yankees on. So
yeah,
I wasn't even the biggest baseball fan when I was younger, but I think I got into the radio because it brought me back to hanging outside with my friends, and
yeah,
nice summer day, and kind of like right now it's turning into spring. Um, so yeah, similar here. It brings you back to a point in time, and great point in time. So uh, always like listening to John.
absolutely, absolutely. And Dave Sims has done a nice job filling in, I think. So
He's fantastic. He
yeah, it's
he
got
does
good
a very
voice.
good job.
Yeah,
Susan's awesome too.
yeah,
She's been there forever too. She was
yeah,
John's sidekick for a while there, and she knows the game. It's
yeah,
it's it's cool to have two perspectives there, and I think they do a great job.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Christian, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Charlie.